We are live.
Okay.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
Welcome to Cop Block Radio, everybody. Everybody knows this song, right? Everybody here is familiar with this song, right? Everybody's heard that song before.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well,
my favorite song.
We're going to have a contest here at copblock.org where we're going to be giving away a t-shirt for first place, a couple bracelets for second place. I want that song rewritten. You could just send lyrics, send your submissions to dio@copblock.org, and you could just put lyrics if you want, and we can try to do something with the song later on with it and see who gets the best lyrics to it. Or if you want to put video submissions are fine as well. Audio submissions are fine as well. However you want to get this song to me and the way you rewrite it, get it to me. dio@copblock.org. Winner gets a t-shirt, and second place I get a couple of the bracelets that we have.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I was coming up with a little bit of the trying to write my own little thing. It was like on the first day of Cop Block, the police gave to me a concussion. So, I was going 2 black eyes and a concussion, and so forth and so forth. So, however you want to write it, it doesn't matter. Just so I would say have it be the opening be on the first day of Cop Block, the police gave to me, and take it from there.
That sounds like it could be a pretty fun competition.
Yeah, I would really like to, I can't wait to hear what the results are. And are you doing a first, second, and third type deal?
Just a first and second. I don't have a diversity of things to be given a third person, so we'll just do a first and second, and then of course we'll announce the winners here on Cop Block Radio Show on January 5th, because we'll be taking off Christmas week and New Year's week. So, when we come back on the 5th, we'll announce the winners, and if it's if we have like audio submissions or video submissions, we'll play whatever we get. So the goal is video submissions. If you could do videos or audios, would be great. So that'd be the goal. But I will just take the text, and if I can try to turn it into an audio or a video clip, I will definitely do that if I can do it.
That's pretty cool. That'd be awesome to see all the results that come in.
Yeah, we'll share. I'll share some of the results on the copblock.org as I write the post as the contest goes on. Submission should be in by midnight Christmas Eve.
Very cool.
That'll be the deadline for submissions.
Very cool. So what's going on in the news this week, Dio? How have you been?
We've been all right. I mean, I ain't been contacted by the government, but I tried to contact them kind of the other day. But what's up with you? What's up? Where the hell is Derek? He's the one who's supposed to be asking these questions.
Yeah, we missed Derek, but Derek is taking a much-needed long trip, and he is having a blast. If anybody follows his Facebook, you can see the pictures. He is just having a wonderful time. He's in Texas right now, and I'm jealous. I wish I could be doing what he's doing, but he's going to be taking.
I would love to travel.
He's going to be taking a few months trip, so we're going to all be sad and crying and missing him. But
why the hell would you want to go to Texas, man? They kill people down there.
Yeah, all the time.
I think that there's some family involved down there.
You run a red light, you get death penalty.
Yeah, true enough. I don't know. Their skin tone is the right tone that they don't get picked on.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true.
So, yeah, well, we all wish him the best, and he will be back in a few months. But in the meantime, Cop Block will go strong. Cop Block Radio will go strong. We promise to keep bringing you awesome content all the time.
We'll do what we can.
Yeah, we have plenty of guests, plenty of awesome new shows planned. We have all kinds of new stuff coming for all you guys watching, all the fans.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you had planned. You said you were going to do something else on a Monday or something, or?
Yeah, we gave a test run of Cop Block Radio Day 2 with all new hosts. It's myself, Matt here from the Oath Accountability Project.
How you guys doing?
And a couple of our buddies, the other member of Oath Accountability Project, who we will all have on the show later
co-founder
tonight.
Scott Marshall.
Scott Marshall, and we also have Rick Gonzalez that's going to be joining us, and we will be running the same type of show.
What are they?
Just 2 nights a week. 2 nights a week bringing you steady content, and we will be on LRN.FM. Come the new year, we will be live. So
that's good. I was a little bit worried about losing that. I'm glad to see that we're going to be able to get that back.
Yeah, well, fun time.
To anybody watching tonight, we are not live on LRN. We will be getting this rebroadcast, so we will be taking regular commercial breaks. But we will be live again on LRN come the new year. So we're only really going to miss 2 live shows because we were going to take that Christmas break anyway.
Yeah. You can really back into it and roll from there.
So
what's a week?
What's been up with you, Dio? Anything with your court case? Anybody contact you?
No, nothing with the court case, but I was out the other day and I took some video. I have it up on my channel, on my Greater Cleveland Cop Walk YouTube channel, that the Parma police, they, in Ohio, we trumped the red light cameras and any photographic equipment that the police use to catch people speeding and things like that, and to give out citations for that stuff. You
guys beat it, and they can't have them?
They can't use photographic equipment to enforce law, traffic law, unless there's a cop present at the camera to witness the violations.
How did they pull that off?
Yeah, right?
What?
We need that in Pennsylvania. We have red light cameras in every
because they protested the shit out of it, and it came up for a vote, and it ended up getting shot down because the people of Ohio think that that's a fascist fucking dictator thing to do, because you can't. Your due process is eliminated at that point because you can't face your accuser and cross-examine him in court. You can't cross-examine a fucking camera. So, therefore, you need to have...
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and they need to have somebody there to do it. There's a town here called Lindale, and they're fucking notorious for, like, giving people... They have, like, a 2-mile strip of land that is Lindale, but they're patrolling out on the fucking highway. It's like they have like a 15-foot strip of highway that they're allowed to patrol, and they just post somebody down there every day, all day, just handing out tickets to people. And they've been in the news for it and everything like that, and they've been criticized for their practices. And
so they're just one basic big speed trap.
It's just a straight up revenue generating thing. That's it. There's no, safety's not involved. It's just straight up revenue generation. So. But anyway, like I said, they've been in the news about it and everything like that. So what they've had to do now is they've actually built a little shack on the side of the road that can view where their camera is, so that they're supposed to have a cop in the shack in the wintertime and all that, so he's got some protection and stuff.
Wow.
So, but the windows are blacked out, so you never really can tell if there's anybody in there. And then the structure was built, you don't know if it, I don't know what the zoning laws are and shit like that, but it is like 5 feet, not even 5 feet off the curb, which I'm pretty sure structures aren't supposed to be 5 feet off the curb by zoning laws anywhere. So, they're doing whatever they can to get away with whatever they can to be able to, it's a big revenue generator for them. They made a lot of money during that, like $4 million or something last year. So, due to the fact that we got that, now all of Ohio...
how much tax dollars turn around and go into actually paying for that stuff to be set up just to have their surveillance.
For sure.
Somehow in the higher crime areas of Allentown, they even passed laws that they not only have red light cameras, they have people cameras. They have regular cameras on the poles. Every pole that you drive through Allentown that you see with a purple light on the top, or a blue light, you've seen them, Matt.
Oh, absolutely.
Every one of those poles has a camera attached and a phone at the other end, so you can narc on people.
Well, there's the ones they have here in Cleveland with the blue light on them. They're for, like, if they have like an audio thing where if they can hear a gunshot, they'll turn the camera on to try to see if they can, catch people shooting people and shit like that. So, that's something different. That's not trying to get people for traffic camera stuff, though. This is stuff to get people for traffic cameras. And now, since the people of Ohio have voted it down, the entire state of Ohio has to do that. There has to be a cop at every time they try to use, photographic equipment to enforce traffic law. So I was out there the other day. Are we off?
No, we're on.
But we would be off right now, wouldn't we? It would be like
no, we have another minute.
Oh, okay.
We're about to be going to a commercial break.
It's also fucking new. So, yeah. Anyway,
so hold that thought. We'll go to a commercial break right now, and we'll come back in a few minutes.
It sounds good to me.
Bum, 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 bum. That's fun.
Yeah. So are we gonna come back into that story, or?
Yeah, I was gonna say I was out yesterday and they did it in Parma. There's a speed camera like right outside my house that they set up during school hours. And I go out there yesterday and the camera's out there, but there's no cop to be anywhere to be found. And I'm walking through the parking lot and I'm looking around, I'm fucking videotaping all around and stuff like that. And it's school let out time, so there's crossing guards up there. And I go ask the crossing guards and they're like, "It's not our job to help you." I'm like, "Okay, whatever, man." I said, "So where's the cop?" They're like, "He's there. Maybe you can't see him, but I can." And then who comes driving up through the fucking parking lot across the street but the fucking cop in the silver DUI car and shit. And I'm like, dude, he wasn't there. He was not there before. So anybody that gets a ticket during the hours of between 2 and 4 in Parma, Ohio, yesterday should contest that shit because there was no cop there to watch the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one would show up to lie in court and say he was there.
Of course. That's why because the thing is the guy that well, see, I don't want to get too into this on a fucking
we're blowing our load right now.
I know, but the guy who does he hires the crossing guards. So I know damn well that when the one crossing guard was telling me that it's not her job to help me, that the other one was on the phone with the guy who hired her, telling him, "Hey, there's a guy asking questions up here. You better get your ass over here." And then, sure as shit, he comes riding around the corner 5 seconds later, right? So, I mean, it's very suspicious. I mean, like, if a citizen did that, fucking cops would be all over him.
Right.
My friend just got pulled over yesterday. He was telling me just before the show that he got pulled over by Parma cops yesterday, and he said, "What'd you pull me over for?" And they're like, "Because you're driving real slow through the neighborhood and being suspicious." So I mean, like, anything that cop did would be suspicious. So I would contest it if I was anybody that got a ticket yesterday between the hours of 2 and 4 on Snow Road in Parma.
When are you getting your car, Dio?
I don't get no car. I ain't getting no fucking car. Fuck that. I'm done with the whole license thing, and unless I know for a fact that I can drive without a license and get away with it, I'm not going to do it.
Fair enough.
Because I'm not giving them more charges to stack against me.
Right.
That chances are I'm not going to be able to win, so fuck them. My license is only suspended because they gave me a ticket in Berea, and then they wouldn't give me a new court date because I couldn't read the officer's fucking handwriting, and then I called up. It was the day after I was supposed to be there, and I'm like, I can't read this fucking handwriting. I didn't know it was supposed to be yesterday. And they're like, okay, well, you got to pay the cost of the ticket in order to get a new court date. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you're bailing yourself out of getting the court date to get a new court date. You're like paying to get a new court date. I'm like, fuck you. I'm not going to pay you to get a new court date. You're either going to give me a new court date or you're going to do what you got to do. And they're like, okay, well, we'll just suspend your license. Like, okay, go fuck yourself. So I just don't drive. Because I can't drive. I'm too well known around here to be able to drive because any cop that sees me is going to pull me over.
Yeah.
I'm sure they know I don't have a license. When do we come back, Severin? You got to know both ways.
In 10 seconds. 5 seconds.
Oh. Good warning.
We are back from the commercial break.
So at this point, we had Dio telling a story about what was going on with the with his stuff.
The traffic cameras, right?
Yeah.
So they're
out here in Parma, they do, like I said, we had in Ohio, where you got to have a cop present at the camera. So over in Parma, over here yesterday, I go out and I'm around the corner from my house and I see that they have the traffic camera set up for the school zone there, and because there's a school right on the corner. So I go out there and I'm looking around. Me and my buddy, we walk over to Rite Aid across the way, and we go in the store and stuff. And we come out, and I'm looking around the whole time, looking in the parking lot. Where's the cop? Where's the cop? There's the camera. Where's the cop? No cop. Right, exactly. Crickets. So I go back across the street. I told my buddy, I said, look, you ain't got to do this if you don't want to, but I'm going to. So he's like, nah, I ain't fucking with cops. I'm like, all right, go ahead and leave. He left. I went across, took some pictures of the camera, and then went to go talk to the crossing guards who were up the block, who told me, I said, where's the cop? And I said, there's the camera, where's the cop? And they were like, he's there, I can see him. I'm like, where? She says, it's not my job to help you. I'm like, okay, whatever.
That's ridiculous.
Isn't that nice? It's not my job to help you. Well, what's your job?
Yeah.
To lie and cover for the guy that's not supposed to be not there?
To help the main agenda. I mean, they're still told to. Exactly.
Well, there was two of them there, right? There was two crossing guards there, and the one was on the phone, and the guy who was watching the camera usually drives around in a silver car that it's very unmarked, and it just says DUI on the side, or DUI patrol or something like that. It's like on the back fender. It's very hard to see. The lights are very low profile and stuff like that, and it's just it's made to be out in traffic, pulling people over when they don't realize it's a cop car behind them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Are they allowed in Ohio? Are they allowed to have those totally?
See, I don't know that because I know that in Pennsylvania. I know what you're talking about. I know in Pennsylvania they don't they're not allowed to use undercover cars to do traffic stops.
They do.
Oh, they do all the time.
They do.
Yeah,
all
but
the
they're
time.
not supposed to.
And they're also supposed to have
not
cops in
supposed to.
full uniform if they are using them. And yeah,
I mean, this is all academic anyway. What they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do. Anything they hear us bitching about, they go make a law says they can do it tomorrow. So it really doesn't make a fucking difference, does it?
Yeah.
So, but anyways, so I'm this other crossing guard's on the phone, and I know she's calling the guy because the guy who drives that car is the one who does the hiring of the crossing guards. So, I know she's on the phone calling him saying, hey, there's a guy over here asking questions about where you are, and the camera's set up, and next thing you know, 5 seconds later, you see the cop pull through the parking lot of the Rite Aid across the street. I'm like, he wasn't there the whole time. That's bullshit, man. I was looking all over that parking lot. I didn't see him nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. I'm wondering. I say, if anybody that gets pulled over or that gets a photographic ticket in the mail from Parma on Snow Road from yesterday between the hours of 2 and 4 should contest that shit. Because I also would like somebody to do some kind of public records request. I'm not good at doing it. I never get what I ask for anyway, so I figure why waste my time. But somebody else who's good at it should go ahead and get a public records request for them and see how many tickets that cop who was driving that silver DUI car yesterday handed out during the hours of 2 and 4 that are not on that camera.
Right.
If he was around the corner giving tickets out to people around the corner, I mean, that's like double dipping, right? They're
Right.
catching people on the camera and claiming that there's a cop there to see it, and he's out around the corner handing out tickets to people, for other violations. So,
well, like you just said, no matter what you do, they're going to figure out a way to break their own rules because they don't fight to uphold the rules or their oath or our rights. They look for every loophole they can to violate everything they can.
Well,
or they'll just be like, oh, he just broke policy. He didn't break any law. He just broke policy.
Yeah, but when we break the rules, it's more than just breaking policy.
We can't even break policy. We break policy, we get in fucking trouble.
Yeah, right.
Even if you break policy, you got fucking 6 people surrounding you with fucking badges and guns.
Well, we have the call-in line. How about you guys give us a call? Tell us what you think about cops breaking the rules, about badges granting extra rights. The number is 413-418-COPS, or you can call in on the Skype line. That is Cop Block Radio. Or you can just come in the chat room, shoot us a question, ask us what you think. Okay, well, Dio, tell us what's in the news this week.
Well, why don't you tell us about what we got going on? You got a special guest coming on.
We got a nice little show in store for you tonight.
Hey, tell us about your little special guest coming on in a couple minutes.
We have shock jock
Chris Cantwell.
Chris Cantwell coming to join us with the Oath Accountability Project's other half. We have Matt already on, but Scott Marshall, who is very, very excited about talking to Chris Cantwell, because Chris
Tell me
Cantwell,
you labeled him shock jock. He didn't label himself shock jock, did he?
Yeah, I just labeled him shock jock.
Okay.
He
has
labels
been
himself anarchist.
Yes, he's a self-proclaimed anarchist, but he has been
Anarchist,
posting
atheist,
some
asshole.
very inflammatory things online about getting rid of all the Muslims and all kinds of crazy stuff, pro Trump stuff.
Man, if Trump gets elected, I'm moving to Canada.
Yeah, I already said that too. I'm becoming a Canadian if Trump gets elected. I already decided. I will be renouncing my citizenship. I will not stand by while my country turns into Germany in the
What are you talking
40s.
about? Turns into Trump Towers.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. I can't wait to pick the brain of somebody who actually thinks that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean he's just an interesting character, and we're looking forward to just picking his brain, hearing if he actually believes the bullshit that's coming out of his mouth lately,
or if he's just saying
just
some crazy
Is it just a publicity stunt?
Is it all just publicity?
Which, when you're talking about Cantwell, it very well could be. So.
We also have a couple stories. Ademo and Brian back in court for chalking, and the prosecutor is proving his point. They were just recently meeting with the prosecutor. They made some pretty reasonable offers to him to put this behind them and just be able to get going. And he's delaying. So we'll see how this works out, and we'll talk a little more about that later. We also have a Chicago cop that gets away with murder. And we've seen this
Chicago's jumping off, man.
What's that?
I said Chicago's jumping off. They get like
Really
2 or 3 incidences in like a very short period of time. Plus they got the Hammond Square shit going on. Then they got fucking, now the Department of Justice is going to be fucking looking into their activities, and God knows they don't want that.
Yeah, right. It's ridiculous out there.
Between California and Chicago, I don't know which one's worse at this point, but I wouldn't want to go to either one.
Chicago's. We got family out in Indiana and Hammond, which is a stone's throw from Chicago. It's like me from where I live going down to Cleveland. It's like 15-minute ride. But you know, and to be frank with you, I wouldn't spend too much time in Chicago unarmed, you know, and stationary. I wouldn't mind driving through, but I'm not stopping anywhere and getting out. You understand?
Yeah.
Well, we also have Tamir Rice in an unjustified. His killing was ruled unjustified by an independent panel. All this coming up today on Cop Block Radio. We're on commercial.
Alrighty.
Okay, so
let me get. You want to go tell
in?
Scott to go ahead and join?
Yeah.
I will get Chris Cantwell. This is gonna be fun. Let me hold him back.
I haven't been really paying attention too much to Cantwell shit, and only what you told me is what I've heard so far. So like, you guys take over this part of the show. I'm gonna sit back and listen and laugh my balls off.
It's just a guest. It's somebody to talk to. You know.
I'll say hello and everything like that, but I mean, like, as far as like the questions you guys got and stuff, it's all on you. I'm just gonna sit back.
You're gonna have to invite him, Severin.
Yeah. Who? Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. I will send them both their invites right now.
Sit up for this.
You got to remember one thing. He's from New York, so take that into consideration.
That gives him no excuse to be retarded.
Well, yeah, it kind of does. I mean, I wouldn't call it retarded. You call it what you want, but, you know, it's definitely a New York thing. I can vouch.
What up, Scott? How was
Welcome,
South Park?
Scott. Yay!
Were you watching South Park? Can't hear you.
The battle of the century.
Can't hear you, Scott.
You ain't got a bell? A fucking boxing bell?
No, can't hear you. Anybody hear Scott?
I do not hear Scott.
Say something, motherfucker.
Scotty Doo.
Oh, can anybody hear me?
Dr. Bastard hustles hardest.
Dr. Bastard hustles hardest. Yeah, but dude, we can't hear you. You can point and speak. It's fine, you can point and speak. We still can't hear you. We can't hear you.
And we got Helen Keller on the line, ladies and gentlemen. And for our next choice, we've got Helen Keller, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh. I didn't think she was able to even hear us.
Yeah, that's kind of...
All right, we have about 60 seconds before we come back from this commercial break. Scott, can you
gotta fix your audio.
Can you unhook your microphone maybe and just go to your...
He says he's doing it.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Hey, Chris, what's happening?
Good to be with you, gentlemen.
I suggest, Scott, that you just come in on your phone because we know that works if you can hear us. We're about to be coming back from the commercial break.
Make sure you put
in
headphones
about
on.
40 seconds.
He sent something on Facebook. I'm not there.
Unmute me, he says. I don't think he's muted, but let me double check.
Are we back?
No, you are not muted, Scott.
Are we
I
back?
have your sound all the way up right now.
Yeah, I can hear everybody but Scott. Now his video's all.
We are back from our commercial break right now. We have Scott from the Oath Accountability Project having some technical difficulties.
You got a full house here.
Chris Cantwell just joined us from Radical Anarchist, correct?
Radical Agenda.
Oh, way to get the plug wrong.
ChristopherCantwell.com and Radical Agenda is the name of the podcast. We are live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on YouTube, and I have a tune-in station, and you get the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, all that jazz.
There you go. Cool.
So you're no stranger to the radio waves. You're no stranger to speaking out about what's on your mind and being a little controversial if you feel like you need to be to get your point across.
Yeah, and increasingly with how screwed up matters are today, you have to be more controversial because everything is so ridiculously fucked up that to say something sane is like hateful somehow. So you have to piss people off to fix things.
Well, hell, he was on our show before we had when you warded off those two jerk-offs with the gun. And the fucking cops came by and was like, okay, we got you.
Yeah, I was, last time I was
pretty scary.
Yeah, it scared the crap out of me. You know, these guys and their fucking lunatic girlfriends came to attack me in the street because I tried to help out. And I put a revolver in their face, and suddenly they weren't so hot on attacking me no more.
Yeah, but it was a tense situation there for a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, if you listen to the audio from the video, the title of it is "I Almost Killed Someone Last Night," and you can hear me screaming at these people. Like, stay the hell away from me. And yeah, I was in. The cops showed up, and I've not exactly been kind to police over the course of my activism career. And when they showed up, I thought that they were going to fucking whack me. But they actually handled it really good. I had to hand it to them that they treated me with respect and professionalism, and they did a very good job.
That's cool.
So I guess the question a lot of people are wondering right now is, do you really believe the stuff that you've been saying about in order to get freedom back, we got to just get rid of all the liberals and put them on an island? And I mean,
This
some
is
of the
all
stuff
them.
I've read has been pretty radical. People have been flipping out.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad. So I haven't said anything about islands, but I've been reading a book that has really changed my worldview quite a bit. The title of it is The Evolutionary Psychology Behind Politics. It's a thing about a subject known as RK selection theory. And it tries to explain on a biological level the differences in our political opinions in society, and it makes a very compelling case that what we have is, a lot of libertarians, they think of left versus right as some kind of like top-down scam imposed on us by the government, and people say divide and conquer and all this nonsense, when in reality what it is an evolutionary matter, and there are evidences of this in our biological makeup. You can look at like CT scans of brains and whatnot, and you'll find that liberals will have different areas of the brain function better or worse than those of conservatives, and this explains a great deal about why people think the way that they do. And what I am ever increasingly...
So wait, are you actually saying that liberals and conservatives have different brains?
Yes.
That our brains are actually biologically wired differently?
Yes.
And
I would
is
explain.
there any proof to back that up outside of this book?
Well, there's a number of studies. What he's citing is these studies in the book. So, I don't have the PubMed papers in front of me, but this has been done more than once, where people look at the brains of conservatives and liberals and they find different things. For example, I want to say the anterior something cortex, the ACC in liberals is larger, and liberals will sometimes use this to try to say that they're smarter, but then they also have lesser functioning amygdalas, and so this will result in different thought patterns. Okay, so if you've ever tried to speak to someone who just completely disagrees with you politically, and you're trying to explain to them something that you perceive to be perfectly logical and fact-based, and they just talk to you like they're speaking a different language, well, that is the case that's made here, is that they are literally processing information completely differently than you are, and that's why you're coming to these radically different conclusions. Most people are not, and everybody who's ever participated in a political debate ought to realize this, that most people are not processing things as a matter of like a logical thought process as logic is understood. Logic is a science. It's a thing that you can study and understand.
You could prove it.
And most people do not operate according to that. And it's not just because they're stupid, although I would say the vast majority of people in the world are very stupid. But it is a foundationally different thing, that these are biological drivers. Like if you listen to I forget the episode number off the top of my head, but Tom Woods had a guest on the Tom Woods show, and what they were talking about was this concept of the elephant and the rider. And so when you think of your logical thought process, your reasoning, your language skills, this is like a human rider on top of an elephant, okay? And the human rider can try to direct the elephant, to tell the elephant to go straight, tell the elephant to turn around. But if the elephant decides that it wants to turn right or left, and the elephant is being all your other stuff, your limbic system, your emotions, your survival instincts, your biological drivers, if your logical thought process says turn left and the biological process says turn right, guess what? You're turning right. Your logical thought process is not as powerful as the rest of your brain, right? The rider exists to serve the elephant, not vice versa. And so these biological phenomenon explain a lot of what is going on. And if you have a group of people in a civilization that are biologically geared towards terribly destructive behaviors that are bankrupting our civilization and getting us into wars and causing us all manner of trouble, then the answer to that is that we have to live separately from those people. We cannot share a geographic territory, especially when we're trying to share a system of government underneath it. And that is a thing that is inescapable.
Do you know how many? We're specifically talking about Muslims.
You can't be.
We're talking about Muslim terrorists.
Yeah, right?
Hang on a second.
Do you know how many Muslims
now you're
there
talking
are
about
in the
something
world
completely
compared
different.
to how many are actually radical terrorists?
Hang on. Now, don't change the fucking subject mid-sentence, guy. So you are now, if you want to talk about Muslims now, that's fine. What I was talking about just a minute ago was leftists. Do you want to change the subject?
Yeah.
Because you just said we're talking about Muslims, which we were not, right?
You were talking
We're
about
talking about liberals.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
that's
If you want
what
to
I
talk
was-
about Muslims now, I'm happy to change the subject.
So
Is that what you want to do?
you think liberals are the ones bringing the destructive nature to our society?
Yes, they certainly are. There's absolutely no question about that. Where do you think all this big spending, fight wars in a half-assed way, right? I mean, I've got some problems with the Republican Party and some of the.
Yeah, you really can't say much about that because
Right.
we've been fighting
If
that
we're
war.
going to interrupt each other, I'm going to hang up the fucking phone. Okay? You want to have a conversation, or do you want to interrupt each other's sentences?
I mean, either way, we were all getting our word out. And you can't come on the program and just dictate the whole thing. I mean, if one of us has something to say, we're going to say it.
Okay, so if you say it in the middle of me saying something, then we're not having a conversation, are we? Right?
I mean, do you want to have a conversation here? Because everybody should get a chance to speak.
So why are
we focusing on this? Why are we focusing on this?
Because you're making a point and then you're interrupting me when I'm responding to it, and that's not how something works. Okay? So if you have a point to make, you're changing the subject, you're interrupting me. This is not an organized, structured thing here that people can actually get their points across. Now, if you'd like to operate in that way, I'd be happy to. So what would you like me to speak to?
Matt, why don't you, or Scott, is your mic working now?
No, I guess not.
No.
I guess not.
No.
So.
All right. Well, the main person who wanted to speak to you about the radical views that you have toward liberals, I mean, his mic isn't working, but I can come in and say, outside of these studies that you're claiming have been done, that it's absolutely absurd that you would say that liberals are the ones that are trying to destroy our country. Liberals are not the ones that are approving bombs to be dropped.
Actually, as a matter of fact, Barack Obama is about as liberal as we've had as a president in quite a while, and he's dropped quite a few bombs. And as a matter of fact, when he does go and wage these wars, he does so in a half-assed manner as to continue the wars. And so, if you're an anti-war guy, it would stand to reason that you'd like the war to end. And that is not the way that Barack Obama operates, and that's not the way that liberals tend to operate. What liberals have a really bad habit of doing when they wage wars, and they've been known to do that, is they go and they wage wars in a half-assed pussyfoot manner in which the conflict continues for an eternity. The wars in the Middle East have been going on for the last 15 years, and now the big threat is ISIS. This terrorist group is running around with American weapons, which in large part were given to them by the Obama administration, and Barack Obama goes and leaflets the area before bombing it, saying, "Hey, we're going to blow up your stuff. You might want to get out of here." So that is still making
Hold that
war.
thought.
That's
We're
actually
going to cut right to
continuing the war
commercial.
on, right?
Hold that thought. We're going to a commercial break right now. We'll be right back. All right, Scott, can you get your microphone
What's going on with
working?
your microphone?
His picture is like totally
Yeah, I
frozen.
have no idea what's going on with him.
Hey Chris, help me out a little bit. Ain't like liberal usually kind of synonymous with Democrat?
Yes.
And then isn't Obama a Democrat, right? So that would, by definition, kind of make him a liberal, right?
Well, I mean, I suppose that you could be some other, political persuasion and be a member of the Democratic Party. It's a thing that is physically possible. You can check the box Democrat wherever you want, but you're pretty unlikely to be elected president of the United States being a right-winger in the Democratic Party.
People started becoming the libertarians more so, then it's mostly been a label for a Democrat. To me, in my understanding of it.
Libertarian is more Democrat, are you trying to say?
No. I'm saying that until recently, when more of the liberals have started to go towards the Libertarian Party as opposed to the Democratic Party, liberal was synonymous, in my experience, with Democratic Party.
Well, I mean, the entire point of the two-party system is to represent this liberal versus conservative, right versus left, or in the study that I'm ensuing is R versus K. and it makes sense when you put it in that context why you have a two-party system, that you have these different biological drivers on either side of a discussion, and they are battling for control over the system of government, and they will battle it out until things get so bad that that they literally battle it out, and people start getting violent about it. And so this is I don't think it's healthy or reasonable for us to live under the same system of government.
I mean, if you've been involved in cop block in any capacity over the last however many years, you know this differentiation between the thought processes of two different types of people when you're trying to argue a logical point to somebody who just doesn't want to fucking hear it.
Well, certainly, and unfortunately, what we've seen, I've been upset with a lot of things from cop block because, unfortunately, in the police accountability scene, you have this really nasty tendency of teaming up with liberals, and that has resulted in things like the race pimping of Countercurrent News and the Free Thought Project going out and putting out these ridiculous articles and being promoted and even pinned by the cop block Facebook page, and it's really sort of an infuriating thing to watch, frankly.
I'm pretty sure that's over with now.
Is Countercurrent News off the cop block Facebook page?
I think by the end of January, or
that's
by the end of December, I mean.
That's very good news.
But you didn't hear that from me.
You didn't just hear that over the air live. We are back from our commercial break. We have Chris Cantwell telling us about how liberals are destroying our country, and conservatism is the only way for our future.
All right, so if you want to strawman me, that's fantastic.
I didn't hear that in the last segment exactly.
So and I mean this is ridiculous, and this is why a lot of people are sort of losing respect for cop block, is that there's a lot of really left-wing bias here, and it's one thing to hold police accountable. It's another thing to team up with left-wing ideologues and race pimp and do stupid things like you just did, sir.
Well, I mean, you just got done ranting that.
I'm so glad that I don't
anybody
go
that
for
isn't
any
a
kind of
conservative
distinction.
has their brains wired wrong.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said you just got done saying how anybody who's not a conservative has their brains wired wrong.
Well, I mean,
I do remember that.
You're interpreting it as wrong. I'm telling you that they're wired differently. Now, I would go so far as to say that, yeah, my opinion is that liberalism is a mental illness. If you think that people are just blank slate equal, everybody's equal, then that's absolute nonsense. One of the things that is unfortunate with cop block and the other race pimp outfits that you guys have teamed up with, and I hope, and I've received word from someone somewhere that might be coming to an end, and I look forward to it. One of the things that's unfortunate is you guys jump on board with like the Black Lives Matter thing, and we say, okay, well black people are 13% of the population and 30% of those killed by police, thus police are racist. Well, that's nonsense, because what's actually happening is black people are responsible for more than 50% of the crime in America, and that is an objectively observable thing that is actually happening. And so if you are getting in trouble with law enforcement and you are getting killed by law enforcement while you are out committing a vastly disproportionate amount of crime in a country, then it makes sense that you would end up in that position. Right? So this is, these things are objectively observable phenomenon that can be explained by science, and people instead resort to race baiting and nonsense.
Hold on.
Are you saying that someone who's unarmed that commits a crime deserves to be executed by a police officer just because his skin is a different color?
Okay, so this is again, you're doing the ridiculous straw man thing. You're not even trying to be honest, and this is why I have no respect for people like you. So what I said was, if you are running into problems with law enforcement while in the course of committing crimes, then don't tell me it's because of race. I did not say that somebody should be executed for their skin color. That's absolutely not what I said. What I said was, if you run around committing more than 50% of the violent crime in a country, and you're 30% of those killed by police, I'd say that's a goddamn gift.
Okay, I'd like to get a word in here edgewise, because
go ahead, Theo.
But by the same token, the flip side of that, Chris, is also that there is a lot of racist attitude in the police department.
Absolutely.
in police departments everywhere. It's, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people that are being killed just because of being black. Or
No,
I mean, I'm not saying that it's always, but
so look, I just had flash across my screen this ridiculous thing in Chicago with Laquan McDonald. Now, should he have been killed? Well, you know, he certainly shouldn't have kept on shooting him while he was down on the ground. But if black people are just being executed because they're black, then why do Black Lives Matter have to go and take examples like Michael Brown, who robbed a convenience store? Why do they have to have Laquan McDonald, who was smoking PCP and running around with a knife? Right? This is not a situation where people are just going into the ghetto and trying to gun down black people. I'm not a fan of cops. I've said a lot of nasty things about police. But the idea that they're just running around looking for black people like it's hunting season is a ridiculous concept.
And that's not what I was saying.
People behaving badly and getting into confrontations with law enforcement, resisting arrest, and getting hurt in the process. Now, if you want to say that exposes the violence inherent in the system and we should do things differently, that's a fine thing for you to say. When you say it's race-related, no, it's not. What is happening is there are demographics that are behaving differently than other demographics, and that is an observable phenomenon that is based in reason and evidence, as opposed to this whole, you know, the cops are just hunting down black people. It's ridiculous.
Well, why is it that black people are like more than twice as likely to be stopped by the police?
That point.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
I've watched it time and time again.
Because they live in high crime areas, because they behave badly, is why.
So you're telling me racial profiling is something that happens because some of them are bad, so the rest of them should all have to pay that price?
You are defining racial profiling as people being stopped more frequently, and so that is not a proper definition of racial profiling. If people are being stopped because of their behavior and they happen to be disproportionately black, then that is not racial profiling. That is a demographic disparity that is occurring as a result of behavior.
So what you're telling me is more black drivers that are more likely breaking the law while driving than white drivers.
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's objectively true.
All right, now how about Sandra Bland? Let's say one case in particular.
Okay. So Sandra Bland was pulled over because she failed to signal, which is something that has happened to me and countless other white people. Continue.
And I noticed that you use a vapor pen, so you obviously have. If you're feeling a stressful situation, you light a cigarette, you go for your vapor pen. When you're pulled over, that's what you do. Did she deserve to die? And was she singled out because she was black?
You know, I think that what she did was kill herself in a jail cell. So if she wanted to die, then I'd say, you know, that's her decision. She's more than welcome to kill herself, and I think the world is probably better off without her because she was a fucking asshole. If you get pulled over and you're smoking a cigarette, a lot of times the police officer will tell you to put the cigarette out. And the reason he does that is because cigarettes can be used as a weapon. And so I carry a firearm, gentlemen. If a police officer comes to me and says, drop the weapon, you can believe that my weapon will be dropped in rather short order because I know how that goes. And what Sandra Bland did was act like a fucking asshole because she was a Black Lives Matter lunatic who tried to make her turning signal problem a racial issue, like an asshole. And then the cop didn't appreciate that very much. He told her, put out the cigarette, get out of the car, and then she resisted arrest. Now, if you guys would like to try this, one of you white gentlemen go out there, resist arrest sometime, and see how that pans out for you. And I'm pretty sure you're going to get your fucking ass kicked, and then you're going to go to jail. And if you decide to hang yourself in your jail cell, that's not the officer's fault. That's you ending your own life. And so when everybody's running around with these absurd conspiracy theories about Sandra Bland, oh my God, the police killed her in a jail cell, we had to hold it. It's nonsense. It's a lie.
It doesn't. To me, it doesn't make a difference how she died in the jail cell. The point is, she was in a jail cell for failing to signal. The cop
was in a jail cell for resisting arrest. A lot of people I know have been arrested for resisting arrest. Okay, Adam Kokesh has been arrested for resisting arrest. Adam Kokesh, not the blackest of people I've ever met, okay? So if you go and you resist the police and you get your ass kicked and you go to jail, you can complain about how laws are organized. You could say it's ridiculous to be arrested for resisting arrest. You can make all of these statements. But if you say that it is race, then you're a lying piece of garbage who's saying something that is inherently dishonest.
The cop was known for making racial comments.
The cop was known for making racial comments. Well, I saw the video and listened to the audio. He was about to let that woman off with a warning, and then she acted like a fucking asshole, and so he asked her to step out of the car, at which point she resisted arrest. Do you know, again, go ahead and go out there and try to resist arrest. I've seen a lot of people get manhandled by the cops when they try to resist arrest. It's an observable phenomenon that happens to white people, too. The fact that black people more often resist arrest than white people might have a little something to do with something that's going on in that community, and they might want to look into their own behavior if they're getting into conflict with law enforcement more frequently than whites.
There's that, but I could also see how, like, some, you know, and I'm just going to say the way I know how to say, because I'm not a very politically correct person, as you know, but a community, you know, with this injustice, I don't know if you want to, that's probably not the right word, but it's like, I mean, okay, if you're living in this neighborhood and you know, through no fault of your own, of course, you know, you're poor or whatever, so you live there. It so happens that's where you live, and you try to live honest and decent life, and you're still getting pulled over and stuff like that, and you're still being encountered and you know, accosted and all that kind of stuff. I mean, of course, first thing, you should videotape it if that starts happening to you or whatnot. But I mean, like, I can understand how you would grow up with a sense of fuck this. You know what I mean? Like, I've had enough of this after a certain amount of time. You know what I mean?
Okay, so if they're saying fuck this, fuck the police, fuck the white man, and then they're getting into trouble with law enforcement, that's still a result of their behavior. That's not, you know, whitey keeping the black man down. And that is something that, you know, has really disgusted me.
Hold that thought. We're going right to a commercial break right now. We will be right back at Cop Block Radio.
What the hell's going on with Scott's audio?
I have no idea.
Mic check. Mic check.
Oh,
Now you're on. Finally.
Why are you so quiet?
I didn't know if my shit worked.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris,
Here, what? Actually, let me get an audio check from you.
Check. Here.
Go again.
Check.
Perfect. I got your audio cranked all the way up.
Okay.
All right, we'll be back in 3 minutes.
Radio. Chris, I largely agree with what you're saying. I just don't think it's fair to say it that way without posting the opposite.
Yeah, go ahead and say the opposite.
Since I have audio right now, I'm just going to go ahead and say what Severin said about me wanting to debate you. I could care less about this right now. I don't even know who you are, and he made that up. I don't care.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't mean the opposite should be said. I'm just saying that like I said, it for me myself, I can say that I've dealt with the police enough to say I've had enough of their bullshit, and I'm going to actively resist, maybe not resist arrest particularly, but civil disobedience, things like that. We do that on a daily basis just to, I don't know, I kind of do it just to feel human.
All right, and when you get assaulted in the process, do you scream they're just trying to keep the white man down? So I mean, this is the problem.
We should say this for.
Yeah, see, that's probably the difference. I mean.
I used to be a contributor to Cop Block. I write about police fairly frequently, and I've said some really nasty things about them. But it's unfortunate that there's been this jump on board with some things that are just objectively untrue, and that is a thing that has really repulsed me from the libertarian scene in general, and especially the police accountability stuff. I cannot believe the things that I see coming out of a lot of these outfits. They're just not credible sources anymore because they're willing to say things that are objectively untrue.
I mean, I just want to say that I always, whenever I see race in a story, I just never, I never even give it any credibility because that's not really a thing that I think we should be focused on. But I do want to say that we know that whites and blacks use marijuana at roughly the same rate. Yet black people are 4 times more likely to get charged with possession of marijuana than white people. So Just gonna throw that one out
as a matter of fact, we don't know that. As a matter of fact, we know the exact opposite is true. So we know that blacks and whites self-report marijuana at the same rates. And as a matter of fact, I've got a study here. I can pull it up for you if you like. When they looked at the accuracy of self-reporting, and the truth of the matter is, black people are more likely to lie about it. And the other thing is that if you find yourself in a situation where you're more likely to be speeding, if you're more likely to be driving around in a piece of shit car with your tags expired, then you're more likely to come into contact with law enforcement, and then you're more likely to get busted for marijuana. If you have repeat offender charges, and then you're going to get sentenced to longer sentences. That's the other thing that everybody always brings up, that they get the same charge and they do less time. It's not true. When you compare apples to apples, it is actually the exact opposite. That, as a matter of fact, white people are getting screwed, and black people are getting let off the hook.
Now, when you say that that black people are more likely to lie about something like that, I mean, are you basing this off a study or just your own personal opinion?
Yeah, no, I'll pull the study up for you. This is science.
Because I mean, if it's a study, then sure. But
can you throw it up in the chat, Chris?
I don't know that I can. I've got it on this computer, and you're on that computer.
Okay. All right.
I can give you the name of the study. Hang on a second. The name of the study, and you can Google it and pull up the PDF if you want, because I've got the text copied and pasted into a notepad here. The name of the study is Differences in the Validity of Self-Reported Drug Use Across 5 Factors: Gender, Race, Age, Type of Drug, and Offense Seriousness. It was published May 15th of the year 2000, document number 182363.
So you just referenced a document and study from 15 years ago?
Yes, I did.
So that means it's absolutely, completely relevant now, 15 years after the fact?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I would say it was, especially when we've had Barack Obama in office for 8 years and absolutely refuses to publish anything race-based. He's trying to hide every difference in racial groups because he's a liberal fanatic who thinks that we're all equals, and we're not.
Why aren't we?
Why aren't we? Well, because biology. You know, are we all the same height? Do we all have the same physical abilities? Are white people, 50% of the NBA? Are black people running the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics?
Yeah, all I'm hearing is something that sounds like white is superior.
Okay, so if black people are better at basketball, white people are superior?
I mean, that's you're clouding how you're saying it, but you've said it. You said it. We all listen to you say it.
So if white people are doing better in certain areas, in socially valued things like staying out of prison.
So
right?
basically, what you're saying is they can have the NBA and we'll have shorter prison time? Like, is that what you're saying?
No, as a matter of fact, what I'm saying is white people are getting fucked because white people are actually doing more prison time over the same charges. When you have a situation where, if you send a poor white guy and a poor black guy into a courtroom, and the charge is exactly the same and the nature of the crime is the same, the white guy and the black guy will either get the same sentence or the white guy will actually get longer. Okay, so if white people have more money and they're able to buy, more expensive lawyers, then that might explain why sometimes they get off with lesser charges. But that's a matter of money, not race, right? If a black guy has repeat offenses and he goes into a courtroom with a criminal record, yes, of course he's going to get a longer sentence. When you look at these studies that you're looking at, and I don't even think you're looking at them, I think you're making this crap up. But if you look at the studies that claim this, they're leaving out like 80% of the information. And they're doing it on purpose because they think that we need to get our fucking privilege checked, and that's nonsense.
Anything to say to that one?
I do, but I'm trying to save it for being on the air.
Yeah, basically.
We're about to be back in 2 minutes.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, I don't usually go for that whole race thing myself either. I just tend to look at like what
I think it's something used to marginalize people. It really is.
I think it's something that people about to me, because I don't pay attention to it. Like I said before, I don't identify as a liberal or a conservative or a Democrat or a Republican or a left or a right or a fucking whatever the fuck. I don't identify as any of that shit. I'm a fucking human being, and I have like just ever-changing opinions. I'm not gonna ever just, you know, say like one thing is 100% right because I'm constantly being proven wrong in that. So like, I mean, in my personal life even. So it's like I have the lesson learned not to fucking look at that shit and like put any faith in that. You know, it's all fucking like a rigged game as far as I'm concerned. So I don't buy into it. I mean, I have some conservative ideas, I have some liberal ideas, and I don't know which ones are which because I don't identify with that shit. You know, I believe I should be able to own the gun and all that kind of shit. So what does that believe in? No, I don't say what it makes me because I don't give a fuck. They're probably all conflicting anyway.
Now, is it my connection that's all laggy, or?
I heard his audio cut out a few times during that spiel as well, so I think it was him.
Okay.
Sorry to be spieling.
Do you have a bunch of windows open?
No.
I was hearing wind blowing earlier. That was odd.
You mean Windows on the computer or Windows on the Windows?
I thought he meant Windows, because I definitely was listening earlier and heard like a...
No, I got no windows open, but I only got 4 windows open on my computer. I guess that means we're back.
We are back from our commercial break. We have Chris Cantwell still as our guest. Before we cut to the break, we were discussing the difference between the racial divide, and Chris was saying he doesn't believe that there is any provable fact that shows that blacks are singled out more than whites as far as crime. I believe when we cut, we were actually talking about specifically marijuana crimes. And
well, and so the study that I brought up, as I started to tell you, the title of it is Differences in the Validity of Self-Reported Drug Use Across 5 Factors, Gender, Race, Age, Type of Drug, and Offense Seriousness. Results showed that accuracy was a function of race. Black offenders provided less accurate self-reports than white offenders, and it goes on at some length here, but that is the result that they came up with. The other thing that they found was the type of drug. So, on top of marijuana, people say that blacks and whites use drugs on the same basis. Well, as a matter of fact, that's not accurate. So black people are more likely to use drugs like crack and heroin than whites, and so I'm not surprised that they're finding themselves in more trouble with law enforcement than white.
But isn't that because blacks are more likely
marijuana
to poverty?
It doesn't matter why. If they're poor, and they're doing things because of their poverty. But then why do you then come to me and say that this is a result of racist police? This is what happens when you argue this stuff, is that you jump from one foot to the next and you start moving the goalposts. If they're doing it because they're poor, then why are they poor?
Well, I got a question for you. We did find out that this study that you're quoting is from 15 years ago. Now, you could say that things aren't different, but you could think that there's a good chunk of the force from 15 years ago that have retired. A whole bunch new that have come in to the force. So you can't really say that things are working the same way, not only in the community, but then things aren't.
You're welcome to find a more recent study on race and honesty. I'm sure it'll be very difficult to find. I highly doubt that we live, the racial climates have certainly escalated in the last year or two, but I have a hard time believing that as time goes forward, police departments are getting more racist, right? I have a hard time believing that the civilization is getting more racist when political correctness runs through every single aspect of our civilization.
Yeah, tell that to Donald Trump. Tell that to Donald
Trump. We're not saying that it's getting
as a matter of fact,
racist.
Donald Trump is
saying that it is racist.
And that's why he's tearing.
It's not whether it's getting more or less racist.
Window.
It's not about if it's getting more or less racist. It's that it is racist. And
no, as a matter of fact, there's absolutely zero evidence of that.
I mean, I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not usually one to jump on the race wagon, but, I can't ignore the truth.
You are ignoring the truth. You're not bringing me a study, right? You're saying that my study is 15 years old and thus it's senseless, but you're not bringing me another study. You are not going by the truth. You're going along with a liberal media narrative. You're going along with what CNN and MSNBC say instead of trying to study evidence.
I've watched this happen personally. I've watched black people singled out and stopped by police for no reason.
No, I don't believe that you have.
You're saying that I haven't been at group events where police are harassing black people?
I'm certain that you've been at group events where police are harassing black people. I'm saying that they're not being singled out for their race, and I think that you're making that up, and I think that what happens is when you try to find the examples of it, you bring me things like Sandra Bland, which there's no evidence of any racial profiling at all. What happened was she got pulled over for a taillight signal. Would you like to bring me another story that actually shows some evidence of racial bias? It's hard to do.
What do you guys have on mind?
So you're telling me, I forget his name, but you're telling me that the man that was shot in Baltimore, or no, was it Baltimore, where he was, God, I wish I remember his name, but shot for
Freddie Gray?
trying to run away. Yeah. You're telling me that they would have done the same thing to a white man?
Freddie Gray was not shot. Freddie Gray was arrested.
No, I'm talking about the kid who was in the park, got shot.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I run around with a gun in Chicago, what do you think's going to happen to my white ass?
Are you a 6-year-old kid?
I
Or
am
a
not
9-year-old?
kid.
Or however old he was? Are you a little kid? Because, I mean, if you're a little kid running around with a toy gun, then that would be different.
All
We're
right.
talking about Tamir Rice. That's here in Cleveland, and there's a big difference. I mean, as a child that age, I ran around with a gun in the neighborhood.
I did too.
I was brought home by a police officer, not shot by one. Okay, especially in an open carry state. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so
that's not a good example.
What is not a good example?
Tamir Rice being an example of somebody running around with a gun.
Well, he was running around with what the police thought was a firearm, and they shot him. And I don't think the police should have shot him. I'm saying that that's very bad that they shot him.
The dispatcher was told that it was probably a toy gun, but
there's a bunch of shit involved in
but
that.
Yeah, you know, they're coming right for us, so let's shoot them down.
So I don't think that the cop should have shot him. I'm not here to stand up for the cop. I'm just saying that there's no evidence of racial bias there, and you haven't presented any. What you're saying is that a kid with a with what the police
show me another case. Show me another case where the cops show up and shoot a white kid.
I'm certain that it's happened.
I mean, that's the argument that you use. Show me another case.
Right? Well, nobody cares when the police shoot white people. It doesn't make a fucking television show out of it, right?
I mean, I care.
MSNBC and starts freaking out. Well, yeah, you care, but most people don't. So it's not a nationwide news story when
I mean, I know a lot of people that cared about Devin Guilford.
Are killed by police. White people are killed by police all the time, and disproportionately at that. Okay, and so if you have a situation where white people are the vast majority of people who are killed by police, but they're not the majority of people committing crimes, and that tells me that white people are being shot by police at a disproportionate rate. And so,
yeah, but you're also not bringing up the disproportion between the races. How there's many more white people than there are black people.
When I say disproportionate, that's exactly what I'm saying. As a percentage of the population. Okay, and as a percentage of people who are out committing crimes. Okay, so if you guys are going to be police accountability activists, you might want to familiarize yourselves with crime statistics. And if you're going to talk about issues of race,
crime
you might want to familiarize yourself with the demographics of the crime statistics.
If they're targeting black people, it's going to skew black with the crime statistics. So you can't quote crime statistics when we're talking about racism.
Yes, I can, because you can look at
your crime statistics come from the racist cops that are out there targeting and pulling over black people at a much higher rate than they are white people.
As a matter of fact, they're from the Crime Victimization Survey, where crime victims are reporting the race of their attacker. Okay, so if you look at you have both, and they correlate. So you can say that this is not something that's being made up by the racist FBI just going and trying to make black people look bad. What you have, and by the way, you know, Barack Obama has started censoring a lot of these things, right? So you don't have statistics on interracial crime anymore, which used to tell you that blacks were victimizing whites at far greater proportions. But what you have is a situation where the Crime Victimization Survey correlates with the FBI statistics that black people are committing more than half of the violent crime in the United States of America. And anybody who's ever lived in a black neighborhood shouldn't find that at all surprising. I mean, it's an observable phenomenon, gentlemen, and if you want to just try to deny it because you're moral signaling and you want to sound like you're not a racist, then go ahead. You know, but it's not true. It's just not based in reality, and every time I tell you what the truth is, you just try to poke a hole in it and move on to the next subject. Go look at some science, go look at some data, and then come back with some evidence, because that's not what you're doing. You're running around with a narrative that we live under a white supremacist justice system, which just so happens to be fucking white people over at extraordinary rates and trying to replace us as a population and subsidize birth control and abortion and fuck up everything, right? And replace us with immigrants, right? That's what's actually happening in the United States of America. When
Okay,
you have,
let me ask
affirmative
you,
action,
who
you have
is trying to do
affirmative
this?
action. You have affirmative action in colleges, all right? You have kids who are getting into colleges not because of their grades, but because of their race, okay? And that's not white people getting into college because of their race. It's because black people are getting into college because of their race. And then they go to Yale and they say, I don't want you to wear a Halloween costume that I might find offensive. And we're going to throw a nationwide riot on the college campuses because somebody may or may not have made a poop swastika on the bathroom wall. That's what you have. It is not a system that is favoring whites over blacks. If white people were behaving better and succeeding, then that is not something that needs to be changed. It needs to be changed that people who are not behaving better and succeeding are getting ahead anyway. You have to, the forces of the market have to act upon people's behaviors in order for those behaviors to improve.
I totally disagree with you. I think that your position is very naive and blind toward a number of factors. I mean, you're claiming that we all are equal, and yet...
No, I'm not claiming that we all are equal.
Well, no, you're claiming that blacks don't get targeted more than whites. But you're talking about all the black families that are thrown into communities that get targeted by police, that they are not expected to go to college, all of the schools that just kind of push them through. And then you want to blame the people for having issues, for not fitting in as well as the white family that was privileged and got to go to a good school and got to offered the college in the mail.
Well, if black people are getting into colleges regardless of their bad grades, and white people are not, then I would say that that's an advantage to the black people. Okay, white people, if they are succeeding better, if their parents are working and making money and going out into the marketplace and providing services to their fellow man, and then are able to provide a better life for their children, that's sort of how freedom works. Okay, and if you're telling me that okay, these people were born into a particular area, you know where black people.
We're going to a commercial break.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Okay, I found a study from 2011.
Are we on? We're on a break now.
Yeah.
What's
We'll
the
do one more segment with you.
I'm glad you found a study because you motherfuckers are losing this argument.
No, I got a study right here. It's not that I don't even care. Like,
what's the name of the study?
Like he's going to have his opinion, and you can skew studies and facts any way to make
What
your.
is the name of your study?
Let's see. This is the Police Context Survey, and the Justice Department released a report, and it says that a black driver is about 31% more likely to be pulled over than a white driver.
Okay, that is not
Or
evidence of racial
23%.
profiling. That is, as a matter of fact, that's. I'll explain to you why that's wrong when we get on the air. You're saying that demographic disparity equals racism, and that's nonsense. If people are behaving differently, they're having different outcomes. Now we'll talk. We'll just talk about it on the air. No point.
Yeah, save it from there. We'll do one more segment of this, and then we got to get off this and go back to. We got to finish up our news stories.
Very well. I'll be right back.
Are we going to bring up Trump?
Where the fuck you been?
Trump.
It's making for good radio, but you guys are definitely fucking losing, dude. You guys are.
I don't feel like I'm losing. I feel like I'm just letting him rant and look like an asshole.
You're saying he said stuff he didn't say.
How do you argue with somebody whose position is whites are more superior?
Look, I'm not.
There's no logic behind his argument. He's pulling out a bunch of random facts.
That's what I was trying to say. Is that in studies, in this and that and the other thing, you may be able to prove one way that it's not a racist thing, but on the other hand, it's wrong to be dismissive of the fact that there is racism involved in things. You know, talk about self-reporting. That's something that somebody doesn't fucking self-report. You know what I mean?
More What?
Well, why the fuck are you speaking up now, Dio? What the hell?
Because I'm just listening and just, you know, I wasn't even planning on taking part in this fucking debate at all.
You know, it might sound crazy, but neither was I.
This was something Severin
Back
wanted to do, so I was letting him run with it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just because you're good at arguing doesn't mean that you're right. So, I'm not very good at arguing, and I can admit that. So.
Severin, did he take off? Oh, okay.
No, I see everybody here.
Yeah.
Okay. No, he just said your screen went blank for me for a second.
Are we gonna talk about my video from yesterday on the show, or?
We are
Or we
back
already
from
had
our commercial break. This is our last segment here with Chris Cantwell.
So
We're having an interesting conversation.
I
you
thoroughly
just
enjoyed
tuning
it.
in.
So, as we were going to break, one of the other gentlemen said he had some sort of study that was going to prove racism. So let's go.
All right, here's the study basically says that that if you're driving, you're about 31% more likely to be pulled over if you're black.
Okay. So what I said earlier in the show was that if people were behaving differently as a racial group, that it's not unreasonable to expect that they would come into contact disparately with police, and that still
Now,
stands. I know
are you
in
going
mine-
by your personal experience, or are you going by a study on that fact that you're saying that they're acting differently?
Do you know?
I know several black people, and they're all very pleasant people.
yeah.
I mean, that's a very racist thing to say. Do you know black people? Yes, I know many black people, and to put everybody under the same umbrella is very wrong.
Well, I'm not putting everybody under the same umbrella. I'm talking about
black people, like
disparate.
you said, black people.
Okay,
Like,
calling me a racist is not an argument, you know that, right?
I mean, of course it is.
No, calling me a racist is the exact opposite of an argument.
I mean, you.
He has died.
I mean, this is the world that you live in, right? So people run around with this race pimp garbage, and they think like, I'll call him a racist, and then I'll win the debate. Well, no, what you did was you looked like a moron. Okay, so let me explain.
No, I didn't expect to win the debate by calling you a racist.
Here's a study that was taken in New Jersey, and it's this is an article in the New York Times. Studies suggest racial gap in speeding in New Jersey. So they had this situation where they're saying black people are the majority of the stops or vastly disproportionate amount of the traffic stops along the New Jersey Turnpike, right? So the federal government commissions a study, and in the study they said here's from the story. The study used specially designed radar gun cameras, which are used to photograph the license plates of speeders, and whose photos are accepted as evidence in many courts around the country to capture images of drivers in a variety of locations on the turnpike. The study defined speeding as exceeding the speed limit by 15 miles per hour or more, and officers are instructed to focus on the most egregious speeders. Researchers then showed the photos of 38,747 drivers to teams of 3 evaluators who tried to determine each driver's race without knowing whether the driver had sped or not. At least 2 evaluators whenever at least 2 evaluators were able to agree on the study of 26,334 of the drivers photographed, and an analysis of those motorists found that the disparity between white and black drivers widened at higher speeds. In the southern segment of the turnpike, where the speed limit was 65 miles per hour, 2.7% of black drivers were speeders, compared with 1.4% of white drivers. Amongst drivers going more than 90 miles per hour, the disparity was even greater. So what we have is an objective scientific study commissioned by the federal government to
Now, did
prove
you say
that,
science? Because
trying to prove that the New Jersey police were racist. And when they found that there was a disparity in the behavior, the federal government actually tried to cover up the study. And it was only by a lawsuit that it finally got released.
Okay, and you say all this, but I just want to know who has the motive to cover this stuff up, or what is the motive, and what, I mean, This is what I'm
was
failing to
exactly the opposite. The entire motive of the study was for the federal government to indict the New Jersey Police Department for racial profiling, and it failed. The motive was exactly the opposite of what you're saying.
Okay, in one study in one state on one part of
You gave me one study that said that black people were disproportionately pulled over by the police.
Yes, but this was a nationwide study. You know, yours was one part of New Jersey. I mean...
Oh, I'm sorry, but you know what? Unfortunately, we have a politically correct government that is trying to pretend that everybody is a blank slate egalitarian, and that is not true. And so the government does not frequently commission studies that prove that black people are behaving badly. You have to turn on the television and observe that for yourself.
So you're saying if I turn on the TV, I'm going to see more black people behaving badly than I'm going to see white people?
Yeah, I would say that if you turned on your television on Black Friday, what you saw was a bunch of violent black demonstrators shutting down shopping on Black Friday. And I would say that that's objectively bad behavior, and it has nothing to do with police accountability.
What about
I saw a viral video going around Facebook the other day, was at the Cowboys game, where it was a bunch of white people fighting with each other and stabbing each other. So, I mean,
that's amazing. You know, I saw a video on Facebook the other day of a bunch of black people in Africa burning a guy to death with a tire around his neck. You know, the videos get around from time to time, and we can pick out videos of people behaving.
One time at band
What about the fact that white people are twice as more likely to be doing these mass shootings all over the news?
Well, you know what's funny about that? You actually remember the names of white shooters. You don't remember the names of black shooters because it happens so frequently that nobody even bothers to report it. People are getting shot all of the time in black neighborhoods. They don't call it a mass shooting. Like you can actually go to somebody gave me the website, but I don't have it off the top of my head. Like if there's a drive-by in a black neighborhood and 4 people get shot, it does not go out over the MSNBC as another white Christian terrorist, of course, right?
Because it's a targeted shooting. It's not somebody going into a crowded place and then just opening up on everybody that they see.
Okay. And how often are white people doing this, as opposed to how often black people are offing each other in record numbers across the United States of America and in Africa, by the way? If you want to blame a white supremacist justice system, that doesn't explain all the problems in Africa, by the way.
Sorry, what was your question? I mean, that was pretty convoluted. There was stuff about Africa.
So you're saying to me, what about these white mass shootings? Well, they don't happen very frequently, do they? As opposed to black people offering each other in staggering numbers everywhere they are.
How many this year?
Yeah, they're happening all the damn time.
Oh, really?
344 this year or something like that?
344 mass shootings this year, and all of them were white people?
No, I didn't say all of them, but they're proportionately white people. Large.
No,
majority
as a matter of fact, that's completely untrue. If you're looking at mass shootings, which is just categorized as 4 or more people shot, that is objectively not happening disproportionately with white people. That's untrue.
That's not the statistics that I saw. I don't know what statistics.
Oh, can you get those statistics? Would you do that?
They're in the chat that we had. I sent them to you guys.
Yeah, I don't have the ability to find those at the moment, but
okay.
That's
what you have in America is you have if you look at the crime statistics, it's 50% of the violent crime, the murders and the assaults and the robberies are committed by blacks. And if you would like for black people to have a better quality of life, it is time to stop relieving them of the responsibility for their behaviors. I would like for the forces of the market to act upon them and get them to improve, instead of subsidizing their awful behaviors and their dysfunctional families, so that they are encouraged to continue in the path that they are on. And it's a really unfortunate thing that this stuff happens. And if you are interested in solving it, then the answer is to deal with the reality of it instead of excusing bad behavior. Because even when you talk about white people in mass shootings, we still don't make up a population percentage that is proportionate to our percentage of the population in murders. Black people are 13.2% of the population in the United States, commit more than 50% of the murders. And if that is going to be the case, then you can't be surprised when black people are running into more trouble with law enforcement. And it's really not a thing that's up for serious debate amongst honest people who are looking at information. You say mass shootings. Every once in a while, a white guy takes a gun and kills some people. I'm not surprised that it happens. People commit crimes. I'm not saying that white people are fucking angels. They do terrible things, of course.
But it's excusing bad behavior no matter who it is.
No, when did I come on here and excuse mass shootings for white people?
No. I'm saying what I'm saying is that you can't do that. Like you said, you can't excuse bad behavior no matter who it is.
We're on a commercial break.
Everybody needs to step up and fucking be a man about it. And, if you fuck up, you fuck up.
Yep. You say we're on break now?
Yeah.
Right.
I'll say this to the people watching on YouTube and all. Obviously, your position is what it is. You read your statistics. I read my statistics. They say different things.
No, the statistics don't say different things. You're not categorizing this honestly. But go ahead, continue.
The statistics from different sources report different things. If you're coming so far from this other end, and I'm coming so far from this end, there's got to be somewhere where there's got to be one of us has to be right and one of us has to be wrong.
Yes, there is. Well, I'm not. One of us is right and one of us is wrong. That's absolutely
correct. What I'm going to say is, I'm not an expert on studies. I'm not an expert on statistics. I'm not an expert on racism. I'm not an expert on anything. All I really care about is police accountability. I don't care about racism or nothing.
Then I would encourage you to start focusing on police accountability and don't be a race pimp, because when you lie about the police,
have you seen my channel?
Your credibility. I'm just saying,
have you seen my channel?
I don't know. I don't even know whose voice I'm listening to right now, much less seen your channel. What I'm saying is there's a lot of race pimping going on in the police accountability movement. During the course of this entire conversation, everybody's tried to sort of deny reality that I'm pointing out, and that is a thing that is not boding well for police accountability, because if we are lying about the police, then we are in no position to hold them accountable. So I really do. I thank you, gentlemen, for having me on your program, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
I would urge you, Chris, if you could, try to think outside the box a little bit. People are people. If you approach every black person that like they're in this demographic of criminals, it does sound racist.
Well, did I say anything about all black people? That's objectively not what I did, and this is what always happens.
Do you know black people? Have you?
Yes, I said, do you know black people?
When I said that,
if you observe
whether that's your intention or not. No, I try to approach people as
you tell me that I said all black people, I would encourage you to go listen to the fucking show again, pal, because that's not what I said. There are, on the aggregate, differences between racial groups, and they are why the statistics that you state show that black people are getting into more trouble with law enforcement as a percentage of population than whites. They explain it, and I'm not surprised that there are good black people. Ben Carson is, running for president of the United States. Herman Cain damn near got it in the last GOP primary, okay? So there are decent people in the world who are black, and I would be the last person to deny that. I had Walter Williams on my program. I had Walter Williams on Some Garbage Podcast. Thomas Sowell is a wonderful, smart black man. But if you are trying to pretend that there is not stuff going on in the black community, then I would encourage you to go look at things like Walter Williams and Thomas Sowell and ask them what their opinions are of what's going on in the black community, and they will tell you that they have dysfunctional family structures, that the welfare state is exacerbating the problem, and that is what is leading to their disproportionate confrontations with law enforcement. Not the racism.
Let's just end on this. I would encourage you then to go talk to some black people in some impoverished neighborhoods. See the good families, the nice people, the caring, generous people who live in poverty, who do get singled out by police because of their neighborhoods, because of where they grew up, and because of the color of their skin.
I don't doubt that poor people have more conflict with law enforcement. So you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Take it easy, Chris. And this
went about exactly as I expected.
This is why I don't like to fucking get into the whole racial debate with the whole thing, man. This is why I never fucking buy into it, because it's all a bunch of bullshit, dude. It's just, I mean, like I said, you can't be dismissive of the fact that that this happens a lot, all right? But by the same token, it's true. There's fucking over on the east side of Cleveland.
We are back from our commercial break. We just said goodbye to Chris Cantwell, who hosts the show Radical Anarchy, and he definitely has some radical views on people, on crime, on pretty much everything.
Make sure that when you say shit like that you own it your own self, okay? Make sure that you say that you're the one who feels that way, because I don't feel that way. I feel that Chris Cantwell had a fucking point. I believe that there's a lot of things going on both sides of the argument that that need to stop. You know, and one thing key that he said, as far as I'm concerned, is to fucking stop excusing bad behavior. It doesn't matter who the fuck it is. Start acting like fucking humans towards each other. Start acting like people.
Well, I
people
definitely
will start
agree
treating
that
like
there's
fucking
mistakes. I don't agree with the Black Lives Matter movement. I don't agree with racism at all on either side.
No, I don't
But
either, and that's what I'm saying.
If we were all to approach each other as human beings and give each other equal chances at things, people wouldn't feel the need to lash out in poor neighborhoods like they do.
Yeah, you know, I told you, I understand the whole, you know, after a while of people talking about you in a certain way, you start to be like, fuck this, you know, and you're like, you know, okay, you know, it's like I always said about the fucking Sandusky trial, right, with that scumbag, right? It was always like, you know, they kept on trying to skirt the responsibility all over the place, you know, instead of just manning up and fucking taking it, you know, like ridiculous. I think that was a wrong point I meant to make about that, but I kind of lost the train of thought halfway through, so I think I fucked that up. But
well, you know, this is our first show without Derek. We tried something a little new, bringing on another host to see if we could spice up the show.
It's just that this is the problem with it, man. This is what always happens. It always ends up being about fucking race, and it never ends up being about the fucking holding the police accountable. You know,
I feel like I lost brain cells, honestly. Like, I don't know.
Well, he has the ability to talk really well, but he's still just spewing some pretty interesting stuff.
Fox
I'm just going to use the word
News-generated
interesting.
statistics is what it sounded
Yes,
like to me.
you know,
Fox News
on the
is
east
playing up over his shoulder.
because on the east side of Cleveland, there's just been a few fucking, like, there's gangbangers out there that are fucking just shooting up in the goddamn street, shot a little baby, okay? And nobody out there is going, hey, this is the motherfucker that did it, okay? So that's a problem. That's a big problem. Not only do they not say this is the motherfucker that did it, but they don't do anything about it either. You know, it's not like they take care of it themselves. You know, it's not like the community comes together and says, okay, we're going to go get this motherfucker. We know he's the one that did it, so let's go get him. You know?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
So where are we going to be starting off with?
We are already back. You didn't hear our intro? We've been back.
No, I didn't. Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's why
That was the intro.
Yeah.
So we have Rick and Scott joining us, and Matt, and we want to introduce ourselves. We are going to be hosting the new Monday night show of Cop Block Radio, and we promise not to have all crazy people all the time on the show. We will have a lot of guests. We will have a lot of cool events. We plan on doing some live events, streaming YouTube Live from whatever location. So introduce yourself, guys.
I'm Rick with the Lehigh Valley Cop Block, and I'll let Matt and Scott.
I'm Scott. I'm co-founder of the Oath Accountability Project. We've been at it for a little over a year, just a little over a year, here, and yeah, I think progress is getting going, and we're getting some steam.
And I'm Matt, and I'm the other co-founder of the Oath Accountability Project. Like Scott said, we've been doing this for a little bit over a year now. Met these two interesting guys in a fun way during a protest, and been working together off and on ever since. So it's going to be fun to kind of take the things that we've done.
You guys hold a lot of police accountable up your way, and you actually just posted a video last night or today of Scott, you trying to hold a police officer accountable and them showing their true colors, truly. Do you have a link for that you can send me?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
You guys can watch all these videos at the Oath Accountability Project on YouTube. But Scott has had a number of encounters, and we were actually all arrested at one of these, at the state police station where this officer works. So this department is beyond corrupt. I seriously, it scares me to see a department out there that can operate in this way, where they literally don't have any rules. It's just whatever they want. Whatever they want. And they are just... it's hard to explain. They arrest us for no reason. Claim we were trespassing on public property.
It's on Facebook, Seth.
Yeah, I got it. I'm about to share it with everybody. So, this is trooper called out for speeding by the Oath Accountability Project. This is just a general idea of the fun that happens all the time down there in Lehighton, Pennsylvania.
Excuse me, officer. Are you aware you broke every speed limit on the way here? What's the emergency? You're not even in uniform. What's the emergency? First off. Okay, well, you're not in uniform. You just broke every speed limit on the way here, from all the way up on Interchange Road.
With your certified speedometer in your truck? All right, I'll be sending you something now because you don't have the right to do that.
I don't have the right to do what? Follow you?
Yeah, we're on official business. You don't have to know what I'm doing.
I can follow you. You're a public servant.
Speed limit I was going.
Are you admitting to speeding? You admitting to speeding? This officer broke every speed limit on the way here. I'd like you to write a ticket.
You can tell they really love me.
We don't care. We don't care.
I have a dashboard camera in my truck. I mean, no lights, no nothing, not even in uniform. You obey the law when you're gonna. You flew right around me. You know better.
Too bad the SD card was full.
Right? You do know that. You're a criminal. You're all criminals.
But wait, there's more.
So this is important, Scott. You switched to live stream. You knew things were getting tense right there, and that's important for anybody. What do you use for your live streaming?
I was using Cell 411. It's a app developed by a cop blocker, and it's actually now free on the App Store, and I recommend it to everyone. I decided since I was going back in that it was a good idea to live stream so that anybody that saw it, would be able to help me if things got bad.
Cell 411.
That's Cell 411. It's a free app in the App Store.
Android and Apple.
You alert all your friends. You can alert everybody something's going on with you. It tells you where they're at, and you're able to hit live stream, and your friends can watch live what's happening, and later download the video, or it's impossible to delete. So that's what makes it really great.
It's very
all right, let's watch. Let's see what happens next.
And it also. My lovely ringtone.
Is there any particular reason you don't?
And this is the police chief, huh?
Yep.
Then he closes.
What an asshole.
Yeah, he just closed them right on me.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Wow. No acknowledgement. No accountability.
Well, this was the same police chief that earlier in the early days of accountability we had a run-in with and made a complaint against an officer. And then after a right-to-know request went through, turns out he never actually filed that complaint. So he's been winning with us for a while now.
Yeah. It's Brian Blechey. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
And this is your local town.
Yep.
So these officers know who you are.
Oh yeah, especially when I walked up and he said he was going to send me something in mail. I've never seen this officer before, and he obviously knew exactly who I was.
So what are you going to do next? Did you get his plate?
Yeah, I got his plate, and all I really got to do is go down there with the video in hand and say, okay, who is this? And then I can file my complaint.
Yeah, you can go file a complaint with Internal Affairs. Me and Rick just did that the other day.
You got dash cam video, you said, of him speeding and shit?
Nah, my SD card was unfortunately full.
Oh no!
Then there's
Yeah.
little you're going to be able to do about it.
Exactly, but I mean, I have him on video threatening me when I'm trying to hold him accountable. So I mean, there's something there. I mean, the whole department is just they're operating under their own rules, and which is they make them up as they go.
That should be a cop block pro tip, man. Make sure you clear your fucking memory cards and you got enough space.
Absolutely. Yeah, the worst thing you want to do is
You need
have
at least
all of
a
your
half an
defense.
hour. You need at least a half an hour to an hour anytime you're going out.
Yep.
Well, I actually just got off work, and he blew by me, so I wasn't even prepared. So.
I thought, maybe yours doesn't, obviously it doesn't if it didn't get any video, but it ain't supposed to, like, recycle after, like, a while? Once it runs out, it's supposed to start over again or something?
It does, but it's got this glitch where, for some reason, it randomly decides when it wants to lock the video, and I can't figure out why it does it, and then it just fills up that way. The video locks, and it won't overwrite it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Lame.
It can usually hold about a month.
There's got to be a way to change that.
Yeah, it's some glitch. I've turned off.
They're delaying on our criminal charges. They're not responding to our motions or sending us a court date. I think the judge is going to throw it out.
I think he is too. I think he's sitting there and he's trying to, he knows that this story has the potential to go, charged for trespassing on public property. I mean, how?
Yeah, what precedent does that set? Anytime a cop doesn't like somebody, he could just give you a trespass,
or take their phone,
or take their phone,
or arrest them.
Well, that's what all those laws are for. All those, like blanket statement kind of laws are for. Your disorderly conduct, your all that kind of shit is all for that purpose.
Oh yeah, like my careless driving. Anyone who operates a vehicle with a careless disregard for the safety of others, like that's how do you charge somebody under that?
Yeah, right.
But I got charged under it.
Could you get a lying-ass cop to go into court and fucking lie on the stand?
You got charged with careless driving for filming a traffic stop.
Yeah.
Or for filming.
I was going 5 miles an hour holding my phone. Literally 5 miles an hour when I was holding my phone.
I know a guy who had the same thing around here.
Yeah, you were a real menace. You were going to.
And seeing as it's not illegal to hold a cell phone and drive in this state, so I mean.
Well, it's not all bad news this week. Me and Rick actually had some big, huge news happen. Finally, in Allentown, there's a scratch in the surface of the police department. They, after months and months of trying to get to speak to the police chief and trying to get some accountability for their officers and just trying to even get them to speak to anybody about the things that are happening, Rick and I went to the police station to file a complaint, and the chief met us there, introduced himself, he's the new chief, and says things are going to be different from here on out. That
he approached you?
He approached us. He heard we were going to be there. He actually saw us. He waited for us. We were late. He left. He saw us pull in, turned around, and parked, and came back in just to meet me.
Now, this wasn't like an intimidation thing? This was like
no, he walked up and said, let's talk if you want to talk. So we talked for a good half hour, and it seems to be he is really trying to do stuff different than the old police chief.
And
he did confirm that before he took office, the case involving the singing man slammed was closed. There will be no accountability for Officer Bush. That was confirmed. Case is closed. Internal investigation closed it. It will not be reopened. It's done.
Bullshit.
I mean, you guys created quite a stink about that down there.
But we got an answer on it, so it's some kind of improvement.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Can they reopen that case?
For not being quiet.
What's that?
Can they reopen that case if it came down to it?
No, it's done. Case closed.
No double jeopardy in this country.
But, you know,
just
we were.
watching it this afternoon.
I was pleasantly surprised to see him standing there. He walked right up to me, shook my hand, and wanted to talk. And I had said some pretty inflammatory things about him. And
What's his name?
Chief Keith.
Like
it's,
Chief Keith.
Yeah. It's Keith something.
Yeah, he offers us coffee. We got some coffee from him. Didn't give us no donuts, but that's all right.
Hold on now. Now you guys
actually
want
took
bootlicking,
shit
was
from
you?
him?
You guys
Nah,
want bootlicking.
You guys actually took shit from them?
Well, he offered
Right.
us coffee. I wasn't gonna say no.
Yeah, he offered us
Why not?
coffee. He said you guys want something to drink while you sit down, and we took him up on coffee.
They offer me shit all the time, man. I'm fucking no, thank you.
They offer me jewelry,
From me.
free handcuffs.
They offered me pizza
Free
several
handcuffs.
times. They offered
They
me
would come
pizza
for their
several
shiny
times.
bracelets.
them
We
West-
we had another story this week that had another break in it. Ademo and Brian decided that they were going to play the game with them, offered to plead guilty to the DA, and they had a video of that.
Play it.
We're not going to share the video because we don't really have time, but they went in and Ademo said to the DA, we're willing to plead guilty. And it showed the DA for what they were doing, which is really just trying to intimidate and trying to waste their time. Because for a guilty plea, after the jail time they've already served for chalk, and Ademo is also willing to sign something giving up his right to turn around and sue. So,
Sounds like it's all going to get put behind him.
Well,
Well-
not this date, which is the fucking
Yeah.
problem. Because now he's also he's trying to get that guy, the prosecutor there, to at least let him know what he's going to do before or on, so that let him know what he's going to do before the 15th when they got to come back.
Yeah,
They know what the fuck they're coming into.
they're walking through, yeah.
Like he's just being very evasive as to being able to get in contact with him. Oh, this is a busy season, this and that and the other fucking bullshit line.
no, they want to delay it as long as they can and force
But if he
Ademo
was,
to
yeah,
stay there in Indiana.
Yeah, but if fucking Ademo had a lawyer and his lawyer was fucking playing golf with this scumbag, he'd have fucking, yeah, okay, no problem, I'll let you know. Even if he wasn't going to really let him know before then, he would fucking bullshit him and tell him, yeah, okay, I'll let you know.
Well, we plan on having Ademo and Brian on our next show, which will be broadcasting this Friday at 10 o'clock p.m. And starting the new year, we will be broadcasting on Monday at 10 o'clock p.m. So there's a bunch of little changes coming for everybody that watches, but it'll be great for everybody. We'll be having a whole extra night of content. What do you guys think about Ademo playing the game? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think he's selling out?
I personally wouldn't. I mean, I know his motives. His motives are just to get Matt Core back going, which I agree with. I mean, he's got contractual obligations and whatnot. But if it were me, I would try to do everything to fight the system, because when it comes to accountability, it doesn't just stop at police for me.
I don't think you would say that if you knew what was all involved in fucking keeping that Mac tour on track.
Yeah, they invested so much. I mean, I at first I was really against the idea of them cooperating in any way, but this could take years.
Well, like I said, like I agree. But personally, like if I didn't have the Mac tour and all that, personally I always choose to fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fighting, best I fucking can, so.
Yeah, we're all fighting.
I don't plead guilty to anything, but I understand their position, because they have so much riding on them. So.
Yeah, it's hard to say what you would do in somebody else's shoes, but
Absolutely.
I definitely can see. I mean, Brian only has so many months that he was planning on being gone from California, and that time's closing in. They're 3 months in, right? They should be halfway across the country by this point, and they're stuck in Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They could have
My
been on the
my
way
concern
back.
is though, what happens in the next state? Do the cops hear what happened here and then just try to go after them again in the next state and keep messing with them?
I mean,
time
I
will
think
tell.
either way, you drive around in a big RV with cop block written on it. I think you're gonna get messed with. But that comes with the territory. I mean,
Well, but that also goes to show the fucking levels that these scumbags will stoop to, just to try to make a fucking point over nothing, you know, like to try to cover up their own fucking, you know, to try to cover up their own misdeeds by casting doubt on things like that, you know.
Yep.
Rick,
Yeah, it's just
why don't you weigh in here, Rick?
Well, what I think, him playing the game, I think it's all because he wants to get back on the road. Because he was saying in the video, I will plead guilty as long as I don't pay no restitutions and none of that court fine fees and everything. Like, he doesn't want to have to, no probation, no nothing. Then, yeah, it's understandable. If they could give him that deal, well, yeah, okay, guilty and nothing behind it, then, yeah, go for it. If they're willing not to give anything for restitution and all that stuff, then I will plead guilty. That's
yeah,
me.
I agree with Rick.
You know,
I'm
because I don't
probably
wanna,
going to do with Rick here too.
I'm not gonna go on tour knowing that I gotta come back and do a community service at a certain date, or come back and have to pay a fine or have to report to a probation officer. Like,
Well, never mind any of that, but just fucking having to go in, you know, go through the whole process and everything like that, and then have, you know, okay, well, we just need you to come in today just to plead guilty. Okay, now you come back a month later. Now you gotta talk to the prosecutor, and okay, now we postpone it for another month, and then you go another month, come back next month. Fucking, my shit's been going on for fucking almost 2 fucking years already, man. 2 years.
you know what's crazy is that charge that they facing, criminal mischief, I actually look it up. Nothing is damaged.
Yeah,
There is nothing is damaged. So why they continue to try to prosecute Ademo for this? There's no damage.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
tune in Friday for the show. We'll be back on Friday night. It's been great talking to everybody. Check out Oath Accountability Project, Greater Cleveland Cop Block, Rick Gonzalez on YouTube, Lehigh Valley Cop Block on YouTube. Until next time, everybody, thank you for tuning in.
Don't forget to get your gear at the copblock.org/store.
yeah, what he said.
All right, to anybody watching on YouTube, the comments that we got was saying that that guy Chris Cantwell kicked our asses and we sound like a bunch of liberal idiots and hippies. I want to be clear.
I have to agree, man. I think you have to.
This was not a win-lose type of thing. This was strictly trying to see if this guy was serious about the way he was acting, if he really believed it, or if it was just a show.
Well, just like with Cantwell, you have to fucking read into what he's saying and stuff, and you gotta, you know, you gotta see the whole picture of what he's saying. It's not just he didn't just say one fucking sentence, right? There was a whole thing behind it. So, you know, like I think you guys failed on that part of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, we weren't really prepared for him to be coming in with all his stats that he had ready. I mainly wanted to hear his point, and we had people on that had different points. That
I thought he was going to talk about Trump.
Yeah, that's what I was under
I don't know where this whole racism thing came from.
Yeah, I was under the
when it
impression
comes to racism, I mean, I'm always talking all the time. Like, I think that it's a thing, but I think it's something that we shouldn't focus on. So I'm not denying
You should never focus on racism because that's not the fucking problem. The problem is police brutality. That's the fucking problem.
You marginalize a whole section of people that are saying the same thing, and then at the end of the day, you've taken a solid group and you've divided them in half by using racism.
Yeah, that's the whole point. You ever read The Prince? Divide and conquer, motherfucker. That's the whole. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of it.
I think alienating half of your supporters is just it's idiotic.
This is what happens, though, because then you end up the whole fucking conversation is about racism and not about police accountability.
Yep.
You know, so I've seen it happen a million fucking times at protests, rallies, fucking meetings, fucking all kinds of shit. They just start fucking. Everybody starts sticking out their fucking chest, measuring their dicks, and the next thing you know, you're fucking. There's nothing in fact that's being argued. You're all just arguing fucking dumb bullshit that you think. Oh yeah, well, your mother. Like that's where you get to with that. It's fucking ridiculous to even go that way. That's why I don't go that way. That's why I don't do that shit.
Just for the record, I didn't even know who that guy was, and I had no idea what his stances were on anything. So.
Well, they definitely go along with the name of his show, Radical. I disagree with Dio. I think he's totally off on some other. There were some things he was saying that I kind of could see in the realm of reality, but some of it was just so far out there I couldn't even get my brain around it. Like it was just out of left field with some of his things that he was saying.
Well, one thing I'll tell you for sure is you got to stop saying fucking we, motherfucker. What are you, French? Ain't no we.
Yeah.
I was agreeing a lot with him, man. And because especially, like I said, you kept on, like, from what I heard, there was several things that you're just putting words in his fucking mouth. And then you're going back to that like it's a fact. I mean, you can't do that. That's why you lost, to me. You know? Regardless of anything else that was even said. Once I heard that once, twice, 3 times, that was it. I was like, okay, that's it.
I didn't even get to hear the whole conversation.
You need to cut that live feed off, man. We don't need to be live right now.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn it off live without ending the whole thing.